Welcome back to Have You Heard, the social media podcast by us here at The Social Shepherd. My name is Zoe. I'm one of the co-founders, and today I'm joined by...
Hi guys, I'm Jack, the other co-founder.
yeah. So we have a little bit of a different episode today. It is the end, at the time of filming, it's the 30th of June, which means that we are kind of halfway through the year.
Well, we definitely are
We are,
halfway through
yeah,
it, yeah.
specifically halfway through the year. And we always like to do a little mid-year check-in, look at the goals that we set ourselves at the end of last year, which would be the end of 2024, and kind of hold ourselves accountable and see if we have actually,
Done the stuff we said we
yeah,
would.
hit them, made moves towards them, and then equally just to talk about some of the challenges that we faced this year and kind of where our focuses are. So one of the first things that we said that we would do for 2025 was to develop our own brand and voice. Now, I want to caveat that because we do have a brand and we do have a voice, but I think why we wrote this down was it maybe felt that the brand that we had at the end of 2024 that we still have outwardly now maybe didn't quite match the business that we had become.
Yeah, as well as differentiating ourselves
Yeah.
within the marketplace. So not quite there yet. We're working with someone on it.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of it. You'll
We're-
hopefully by the end of
we're in
this
the middle
year
of it.
see something.
And I think the interesting thing that I do want to say here is that the reason this is needed for us now is when we started the agency, just under 7 years ago now, our point of differentiation was that we only did social. And now, 7 years later, there's an influx of independent social agencies. Not saying that we were one of the first, because we absolutely were not, but it just was rarer for agencies to fully focus in on that. And now that's not a USP in itself. So we have a lot of methodology and stuff that we do internally that does set us apart from our competitors. And I don't think that we shout about that enough,
Yeah.
which is what we need to do there. The next one was leadership and management training. And I think we can give this one like a big fat tick. Not that leadership and management training is ever done. Like, I don't think you can ever have enough leadership and management training, particularly in a business like this where you've consistently got people leveling up into management positions. But do you want to talk a little bit about what we invested in there?
Yes, we brought on a leadership coach for our SLT. They also work with our directors. They also had sessions with the wider business and everyone
you
like
and
that.
I.
And yes, and
Yeah.
both of us as well, on doing one-to-one sessions, group sessions, everything. We had that for 6 months. So starting back sort of like December, I think it really kicked off. So we've seen that sort of full 6 months through, and it was a great addition to the business over that time frame, given everyone sort of the foundations of what leadership means. And that doesn't have to mean just a senior role. Leadership can be felt and led by everyone within a business. And management training, we've, obviously everyone's had touch points with those coaches. But aside from that, we've also built out deeper frameworks in terms of our own like management structure and how we set our managers up for success with how we do progression goals, how we set up people for success on their clarity of the roles, responsibilities, and the capability that they should be delivering at that level as well, which gives managers more confidence to provide feedback, to set goals and everything like that.
And I think it's more so about like everything we're doing now operationally is to set the business up for more scalable foundations so that every time a new manager does come in, that information is just there for them and someone doesn't need to repeat a training session or something like that. So it's been really good. And I think the investment in leadership training is not it's not an insignificant one in terms of the monetary investment that's needed, but it is valuable. It is really valuable. And I think the team have really appreciated it.
And it's something that we'll keep revisiting as well. It's not just a one and done. You're now a great leader. Everyone lead C-suite people and of big companies get leadership training all year round, and they've done for decades. So it's never.
Yeah, and
done.
really want to caveat that it really is not just for seniors, it's for everyone at all levels. The next thing was to develop our creative offering and build the team around it. Because I think if I look back to last year, we had just brought Mel in on a more full-time basis. And sorry, Mel is our creative director for anyone wondering. And that was quite a journey for us to go through in terms of finding creatives that really understood social. And to be honest, it's still a challenge. Like we're hiring a lot at the minute, and I still can find it quite difficult to find creatives that truly understand social media. But we have invested, and I think we've really seen the impact of that. And we brought Ben into the team as well. We're hiring for an ACD at the minute. We just brought Christine in the New York team, who's super talented. So we are continuing to do it, but I honestly think that's going to be a never ever
Never
going
end.
thing.
Yeah,
Never ending.
I agree.
Yeah. Maintaining agility and entrepreneurial spirit as we grow. I think that kind of ties into some of the leadership training that we did, like really empowering everyone that they are a leader of themselves and the business too.
Yeah, and their departments.
Mm. Also done quite a lot of like commercial awareness. Like we're very transparent with our team from a financial perspective, but I think we've ever so slightly adjusted how we not what we tell the team, but how we tell it to the team, and I think that has increased the team's awareness of like how the actions they take impact the success of the business.
It needs to connect to everyone's own motives and how they can have a touch point and make change themselves, no matter the level that they're at. Next one, Zoe. Team of 90. I think this is a quote from you.
Okay.
90 to 100.
What I will
team
say
members.
is that there has been like a huge shift, and maybe we naively didn't clock this at the end of last year, but we have been looking to invest with AI coming along. Not that it's just come along, it's always been here. We've been using it for years and years. But I think with the influx and how mature the tech has become. So let me go back. What we had said was that there might be a team of 90 to 100 employees across the globe. We're sort of sitting at around 70 at the minute, and we're hiring. So we will be at probably 73 to 75-ish, potentially by the time this episode comes out, depending on when it goes out. So we're not there yet. And I think one of the reasons for that is as well is we've been very careful about hiring decisions, and we've also looked and sort of thought, are there areas that we could invest to increase efficiencies within the team and stuff. But equally, it's also been a little bit of an unpredictable season for agencies in general.
Well, for us, transparently, we had too many people probably when we set these goals, which maybe I had a change of our mindset. Again, we had too many people, we had too much resource. So over time, just through natural sort of organic attrition and areas like that, we've been able to maintain numbers but grow into that number.
Yeah.
So the revenue is caught up then with our head count. And I think early days we were very, everyone when they first starts an agency going, oh, with this many people, rather than.
And you think the size of the amount of people you have equates to success of the business, which it doesn't anymore. But I think now, like, we're really looking at.
It can within reason, but yeah.
I think now more so rather than just going, oh, okay, well, this role, we need to replace that. We're actually thinking, okay, well, actually, are there ways that we could kind of move things around and bring in more of a specialist role, for example, to kind of, increase our offering and be able to do that. So we're just thinking very carefully about the agency that we want to be in the next 12 to 18 months and making sure that we're using opportunities to bring new roles and skill sets into the team that one are going to help level up our existing team members and help make sure that they are future proofed in their skill sets, but also just to make sure that that we're growing as an agency and they're not just bringing in more of what we already have.
Yeah.
So there's been quite purposeful decisions going on there.
I think that's the smart way, and I'm shame we didn't do it sooner, but I'm glad we're here now in terms of the way that we're setting up the team in that
I think
way.
we've just had a bit of a mindset shift a little bit.
It's also just time doing things in general, time being in the role, time understanding the agency world, time understanding your business, your role, everything like that really plays
and
a
also
factor.
getting a bit more confident in kind of going like, well, no, this is where we think the agency landscape is going to be in 2 years. This is where it's moving. So we're making decisions for the long term and the best interest of the business and our team, as opposed to kind of like everyone knows an agency landscape. You might have someone leave or you might have a client leave and you're scrambling. It's kind of like building a jigsaw basically. But sometimes actually you might be better, and this is like a really weird thing, to melt the jigsaw and put it back together in a slightly different way, rather than using all of the pieces that you already have in there that might not fit. That's a really weird.
And things take time as well. It takes time.
Yeah.
Next one is get to 1 million website visitors in 2025. I know that sounds quite high for an agency, but our website does get a lot of traffic. We hit 600k. If I look back at the last 12 months, just over 600k organic traffic to the website. But an update on this, and a lot of people are finding this on their own websites and or websites that they work for, brands that they work for. It's kind of like, I don't know, I've heard the analogy of like a crocodile, alligator. Once, what was happening from, if you get traffic from search, organic search, your impressions go up, you're probably getting more clicks. It makes sense, right? But now with Google's AI overview, what he's seeing is sort of like a separation of impressions might still be increasing, but that doesn't mean you're getting more clicks. It just means more is being shown by the AI overview.
Yeah.
And actually less traffic is being sent forward to websites. Google is moving to like almost like a view. You're going to be having a view attribution on organic search soon, where people are just getting the answer they need from within the search. They don't actually have to click onto a website, and then thus obviously less traffic going to it. So I think like search will get viewed in a different way soon enough. And of course, ChatGPT, that's providing answers. We get 12% of our leads now come through ChatGPT or equivalent LLMs, Claude, etc., etc. So the less traffic is being sent to
Do you
websites.
ever think, because like we talk about this a lot from consumer brands, so talking about our clients and the future of websites and social commerce. Obviously, that's not really applicable for us. We don't sell commerce. But I do think that we probably will get to a place where, you talked about search being viewed in a slightly different way, but I think people are going to become more comfortable taking credible sources of information from different areas. So maybe we'll actually start looking at more like the views that we've had on our company socials, for like kind of looking at it slightly differently and making sure that our brand as a whole is protected on not protected but represented well on multiple different channels, as opposed to kind of taking website traffic as a sole representative of it. Do you see what I'm trying to say? No, what I'm trying to say is I think we would be better not to set goals based on website visitors and actually looking at the complete visibility and viewership that we've had across the entirety of social. Yes, our website would be included in that. AI search, for example, like the whole holistic piece.
Well, and then tie it back to business results.
Oh yeah.
Like have leads declined because we're getting less traffic? Probably not, really. We're just getting leads in different ways, or we're getting the conversion rate of when someone actually makes that intention to click on the website is even higher than it once was. People would be clicking on websites just to discover and find information. Now they're being delivered the information within an overview or an AI tool, and that naturally, then that intent when there's being clicked on is actually higher.
I do think we will get to a point though where we will have multiple our source of leads from a digital perspective will be more diverse than it potentially is at this point in time, because I think we will have, as the younger generation comes up and they become decision makers and they're doing that, they are used to using alternative sources as opposed to just a website for that credibility. So I think we will see a bit of diversification there. Evolving processes, look, this is always going to be a thing for us. We have made some operational changes. We brought in a slightly more senior operations person. Emma, our finance manager, also took on that role.
And a consultant to help us with our internal tool ClickUp.
Yes,
as
we
well.
did as well. We worked with staff for a long time who was great. But yeah, we've really invested in that, and the team are up and running on ClickUp. Some love it, some maybe don't. I don't think you're ever going to get away from that from an operational perspective.
ISO 27001. Not many people probably know what this is. Some may not. This is all about information security. Quite boring, quite tedious, quite lengthy to get it, but really important. Just shows that we care about how we store information, how we manage that, how we manage data, etc. So when speaking with clients or new inquiries that come forward, some of them asked, "Are you accredited by ISO 27001?" Because that means that they're set up in the same way that they are set up and think about their information security. So we are accredited. Big step for an agency of our size. Not many do it at this size. It's normally bigger agencies, but we felt it was the right move. And potential risk, in the future, we're not going to be added to pitch lists if we're not accredited. So it's getting us a part of those bigger conversations.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the final one, which I won't spend too long because it kind of aligned to some of the other operational ones, was goals and progression standardization. One of the big projects that internal ops had for us this year was a project called Unity. No pun intended. It's spelled EWENITY. Was basically having every single role and level within the business. It basically, there's this huge document that goes, if you're a level 2, here's every single role across the business that is a level 2.1, which to us is like the equivalent of a manager level. And here is every single role and responsibility and attitudinal expectation that person should have. And it all links back to a competency scale. So there's never any question as to what the expectations of someone coming into a role in the business are. So that's been a it was a very long process, because it's, when you put that in front of someone, it needs to be crystal clear and it needs to be explained in a lot of detail. But that's also part of us just kind of working and setting the business up for success in the
and then
future.
same on the progression standardization as well, how that then translates into then everyone having the same format and structure of their goals and their progression plan, because obviously naturally with different managers there's different ways that they might have approached it in the past. One person might have one experience, someone else might have the other. We wanted to create a level playing field where everyone gets the same process, same lay down, same experience of how their progression plan is across the board, so it gives everyone the clarity to move forward and our managers confidence about how to then approach those
and progression
discussions.
is super important. Like, when we started, that's kind of been from day dot, is that we want to be a place, and we are a place where people can progress quickly if they want to. That is, do you know what I mean? We're very clear in the expectations of that. But it is important. Like, I've been in roles, my first role out of uni, my progression was managed really poorly, and I didn't want that to be reflected here. So it is really, really important.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad we've really done that. It was a big project, like you said, but sets us up for success long term, which I think is all about agency life, is getting you ahead of where you are today, because otherwise you're always going to be chasing yourself when you actually do get there, if you get there.
What's actually happened this year? What have we actually done?
Yeah. Outside of our goals and objectives,
What's actually happened? And there's been a lot, to be fair, and there's been, like, my friends always laugh at me because whenever they listen to this podcast, they're like, it's every year is always like, yeah, there's challenges, and I'm like, well, there are. So I'm gonna try and talk about it a bit differently this year, so I don't get absolutely rinsed in all my group chats. But one of the major things that has happened this year was that you moved away from your MD role and Sarah stepped in to the MD role. So for anyone that doesn't know, Sarah was our FD for the last 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah. As a part-time role as well.
Yeah. And then Jack, you stepped into the MD role, and you didn't love it, did you?
It's just not my natural self, and I think you got to play to your strengths in your career and be happy with what you're doing. Not that I was unhappy, but I wasn't in a place of, I was content rather than happy, I guess, with what I was doing. And for me, like, I'll continue doing something forever if it works and makes sense, right? But at the same time, I want to truly enjoy what I do, and I'm in a much better role now for myself, my skill set, my happiness, what I enjoy, to be able to do that. And you need to come with all that energy you've got to be able to drive the business forward. So yeah, like the time of when we recorded the last video, I guess the beginning of this year, I was in that MD role here at the Social Shepherd, and then March is when we'd made the switch over. So that was I think as well. After that change, we've seen a lot of progress because of it. Having
Yeah,
Sarah
because
in,
I
like,
think
it's worked out so well.
having Sarah in that role has made a big difference to you and I kind of being able to focus on where we need to focus, if that makes sense. So Jack's been able to really get back into new business and also the craft a little bit more. Like I really was missing the craft of social. And I'm not gonna lie, I think anyone that works in social doesn't say this, it can be exhausting, the craft, because it moves so quickly and you are kind of bombarded with information 24/7. But I think us being able to get back to it has been really, really good. So thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Um
I guess then after doing that first session that we shared on the podcast earlier this year, we did go through a quiet period as well in terms of not quiet, but in terms of in terms of growth and things like that. We had conversations that were happening. You know, we were winning clients, and then unfortunately, it wasn't going through. There's lots of things that happened that didn't necessarily go our way at the beginning of the year, but I think now where we are
yeah,
coming
we're
into
in
this
we're in a really
summer,
good spot, to be fair.
it
But I think
completely flipped.
but I will say that like we've talked about this. The first 4.5 to 5 years of this business, it was just like boom, 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 boom. Like we were never in a place where we had enough resource in the business, and it was really hard to keep chasing that. And the
We
business,
hired ahead of time.
we had to hire ahead of time because it was just never the case. And then we kept hiring ahead of time, and then we went through a period probably last year, which we've talked about, where, as Jack said, we were still winning clients. And we were winning clients, but we were also, our conversion rate did drop a little bit. And I do think that is because we were in a different playing field. You know, we're kind of, this is a bit cringy to say, but like up with the big dogs now in terms of some of the businesses and the clients that we're pitching for. So our conversion rate has gone significantly up again. So that's great that we've leveled up from that POV. But we're still in just like a little bit of an unpredictable landscape from a business perspective. You know, you have got brands and agencies alike making cuts left, right, and center, for example. And so sometimes, you know, you win a client and they're like, okay, well, we want to go live ASAP. And then they have a conversation turn and they go, actually, we have to go live next quarter, or actually, this is on hold for a second because we got a new CMO. And so there's been quite a lot of business disruption, um, which has made it harder. But now we're at a point where actually we are always picky about who we pitch for, but from a pitch perspective, we do have a bit of a wait list going on at this point in time. Um, and we are just really focused on we've had a few really great wins, which I'm hoping there'll be some press releases coming out soon about those. Some really great wins across the UK and the US, which has been so good. And then one of the other commercial points to kind of raise is that we have started bringing on global clients into the teams where we have split servicing across the UK and the US. Um, which is really exciting. And again, you know, from our perspective, comes with a few operational headaches and bits to kind of iron out. But that's kind of our long term ambition, is to get to a point where, you know, we sat down with the team last week and had a huge conversation about, we are not the UK and the US. We are one global business, and we speak like that, we think like that, we work like that. And so we're really trying to set the business up to be scalable from that perspective.
And that was one of our ambitions, is when we opened the US, is not just to win US clients, but to win clients more globally, I guess, that, you know, are across North America and Europe, and we can come together and be that solution for them. Which is coming off now.
Yeah.
It's definitely coming off.
And like some of the work that we're winning at the minute is like, you know, as an agency, we are, I would probably say, the strongest at like, you're retained, always on social, helping drive impact for brands. But we're now getting to a place where we're getting brands come to us that want like truly disruptive, like liquid death style disruptive stuff, and the team are just so buzzing about it and excited. And it's really you need to have a balance of those two things, because you can't be expected to do that 100% of the time. But the work that we're now doing, I'm like, whoa, okay, this is really, really good, which is so exciting. But I will say that one of my challenges this year has been balancing the UK and the US.
You just got
um
back.
We
obviously
were there for
on the
2 weeks.
weekend.
I came back for a week and a half, and then I went back for a week. And I feel guilty whenever I talk about this because I'm like 17-year-old me flying back and forth to New York. Like I'd be like, oh my God, my dream, literally. But it has been quite challenging. There have been a few days that I was like, who decided that opening two businesses, well, it's one business, but one business with two different time zones would be a good idea because it can be quite intense sometimes, but we're definitely getting into a better rhythm with it. And we're so lucky to be able to do that as well. But I would say that it has been a challenge. And then I think when we get into the global management piece of having team service across the UK and the US, the management of that time zone is really important. And that's where like going a step even further with like intentional and purposeful communication is even more important because, um if a deadline, if an end of day deadline is missed in the UK, do you know, like if we had an internal deadline and you didn't hit it and you're like, oh, I'll just send it at 9 a.m. That doesn't work whenever you're working in different countries with time zones because you could be wrecking the person's schedule type thing, and it's really kind of managing that. So we're ironing that out, but that has been a challenge. That was always going to be a challenge. That's not really expected.
And we're only doing that across like one or two different clients anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like we're doing that across everywhere, and that's caused a problem on every client that we're working on in the US. Certainly not. It's not a problem. It's just ironing out those bits.
Yeah, well, we've kind of done it for a handful of clients first. We have a team that is working on it, so they are learning like the kinks as they kind of go, and it's very much internalized. But yeah,
Definitely. Any like peaks and pits, or is that, I guess, for you like the
that's a
challenge?
peak and a pit.
Peak and a pit.
Yeah, but that it's more of a peak. It's
Amazing.
more of a
I get
peak.
to do America.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, this is also a bit challenging.
Yeah, well, it is, and then you're flipping between the two, and we've got a team of 11 in the US now, soon to be a few more, and then obviously we've got a team of 60ish in the UK, and so merging those together can be a bit of a challenge at times, but that's just always going to be the case. That's not really anything to moan about. One thing I will say that I have found this year is Tom Carey, actually, who is in our paid team and started with us whenever he was 18, but he referenced it a couple weeks ago and he was like, I'm so sick of every marketing leader just like posting AI personal branding posts on LinkedIn and stuff like that. And I will say that like there has been an influx of just like personal branding noise and opinions that aren't even opinions and like egos online, and it's a little bit tiring, to be entirely honest. And it's kind of gotten me to the point where
It's because you can tell it's
it's
not
not
written.
genuine.
They've written it to try and perform on LinkedIn rather than their own
Yeah.
voice.
But I think that's where like I kind of came to the conclusion that I only really want to post something if it's like, but anyway,
Worthy.
well, yeah, but it makes me, I don't really want to be part of that. Like, I'm posting 4 times a day on LinkedIn just to hit a quota. Like, I would rather I post something and people know that, like,
Are you going to be posting more this year, or
I started and then got really busy. I will, but, well,
can that be an objective for you for this next 6 months of the year?
Yeah, but I will only post. I'm not going to just post, like, AI guff. Like, it's going to be like properly like opinion. And I have done a few of those bits, but I don't know. I think like LinkedIn to me is a bit of an irritating place right now because you even see people regurgitating other people's posts.
Oh yeah, that happens on any social
I
platform.
know, but I had a bit more
There's
respect
always
for
inspiration
LinkedIn.
taken everywhere. Anything ever done is
Yeah.
inspiration from someone else. It's never truly unique.
Yeah. I also just think that there's so much waffle and like sometimes you read a LinkedIn post and I'm like, what are you actually trying to say here? Like you've just got this clickbait headline on it. Like it's just, yeah. I think washing out the noise has been really important. That's something we've really tried to work on with the team is like particularly with AI, there's going to be a lot of information out there and we're already overloaded with it. where you the ability to critically think about something, and just because someone that you respect or has like a big name behind them or something like that says something and makes a statement, that doesn't mean that you should just take that for like Bible. We have to be able to think about that critically and understand like where is that come from, what does that impact have elsewhere, and be able to think and challenge things, obviously respectfully. I'm not encouraging a team of 70 internet trolls to go out there and rinse people on LinkedIn, but I think that is something that I think has been it's not a challenge, but it's an issue I think we have in our industry at this point in time.
Hey, we will see how it
Yeah.
progresses. Anything that you want to set for
Oh, so
yourself?
one thing that we did this year that we haven't talked about was we enhanced our maternity and our paternity leave, which took us a little bit longer than we probably would have liked to have done. But you know, there's I think anyone owning a business will understand potentially some of the challenges that come with looking at something like that. But I'm really, really proud and happy that we managed to do that this year. I know the team were really appreciative of it as well. So
That was a really good step for us to take, and yeah, I'm excited that we've brought that into play
for
for
sure,
sure.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that was only a few months ago now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then one other thing just this year to talk about was that um, we talked before about hiring and where we are bringing in some specialist roles in certain areas because we can kind of see where the agency is going to. Anytime you bring in a niche type of role, that is going to be really difficult to hire for. And so it has taken quite a lot of our time and energy to find those people because the roles don't necessarily exist in other places yet. So we're trying to find people with very specific skill sets and passions and kind of being like, this is a new role that you will kind of need. And that's been tricky and challenging at times, but that was always going to be tricky and challenging.
Or just a small volume of people that do it.
Yeah.
A social media manager versus some specialist in this one key area of type of content is always going to be completely different, isn't it? So, but no, I think it's needed, and you know, some of those roles naturally will be shaped internally. Some of them will be brought in, but we just have to be patient with it. Those roles.
Yeah. Hire for talent, not to fill a space, which is always our motto whenever it comes to it. Have you got any peaks or pits that you want to talk about? No. I've yapped through them all. Sorry. If you could give yourself, and we'll wrap up here, but if you could give yourself a message for next year, like a goal or something that you're like, I really
For
want
the
us
end
to
of this year.
Sorry, end of this year, yes.
Stay relentless.
Relentless is a good word. It's like an under-respected word.
Like, and that's tough to do. And certainly there's many times where I feel overwhelmed or tired, but you know, you just got to stick with it. And for me, that's kind of how I believe: stick with it and go punch through it, basically. And be relentless and keep pushing, keep growing, keep doing the stuff that we want to be doing, keep working with the brands that we want to be working with. Build opportunity for ourselves, for the team, for everyone around us. That's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I agree with that. I think mine would be, I'm excited for us to go live with this new brand and positioning. It's not a new positioning. It's something we've always known that we've kind of done, but it being more outward facing.
Yeah, it's telling not our story, but
Our mission.
Yeah, mission, our methodology, our view, our worldview, our social worldview as such. And that's important. You know, you need to be able to explain succinctly what you do, how you do it, and how it helps people in its own unique packaged way as a point of difference.
Yeah. So I have to do a podcast on that specifically whenever that comes out and kind of tell everyone like how we've kind of come to that and the methodology that we use. But I think that is like my message to my future self is like, stick to your guns on that. Like, we have a proven methodology that we know that works. So I'm just excited to see that come to life. Lovely. All right. Are we done?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for everyone watching today, listening in. Make sure to subscribe, as we'll be back very, very soon. And of course, end of the year, we'll be doing a wrap up too, as a part of 2025 and what happened in even more detail. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.